Man, I started right on time today. Dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun. I am Caleb Jones, and this is Unchained CEO, where we show you how to build your own location-independent business, high-income, low-work business that will free you from your 9-to-5 job, as well as free you from your collapsing Western country, so that you can move to a less bad country, or at least set up an international backup plan, and do all these things for very little money. Because here at Unchained CEO, we appeal to normal people, not people making 7, 8-figure incomes, although some of you do, and if you do, that's wonderful too. Today, we're going to be discussing, as part of the Western collapse, we're going to be discussing politics, which normally I don't discuss, but sometimes, unfortunately, I have to stick my toe or my foot or my leg into politics to demonstrate to you why your countries are collapsing, so that you can be more educated in terms of why your country is collapsing and how fast it's collapsing. And today's podcast, one of those podcasts where I'm going to make a large percentage of my audience very angry, because I'm going to use facts and data and logic, and you won't have a response for it other than anger, which is basically what politics is these days. It's two groups of insane people, the woke left and the Trump right, who are screaming at each other, and they're really mad, but they don't have a lot of actual data and facts to back up what they say. Sometimes they do, but usually they don't. They're just really fucking mad. So just be aware, warning today, you're going to feel this way. And that's fine. Over my other channel, Alpha Male 2.0, I talk about emotional control and outcome independence. And so this is a good time today to practice your emotional control. You know who I'm talking. I'm talking to a number of you. And your outcome independence. Again, I'm talking to a number of you, aren't I? A significant percentage of you, aren't I? A lot of you still have to work on that, not giving a shit, relaxing, taking a deep breath, focusing on your internal life and your inner circle rather than what Donald Trump or Kamala Harris or yes, I know the stock markets crashed in the United States last week. Yeah, this is why I don't own any American stocks, folks. I know why. I know you have riots in the UK. Yeah, that's why I don't live in the UK. I don't have any of these problems. I'm here in Paraguay living a great fucking life. Matter of fact, last night, one of those scenarios where I was walking around, I'm like, I live a really good life. Thoughts on Project 2025. We're going to talk about Donald Trump's Agenda 47. We're going to talk about that, which is not exactly Agenda 2025, but we're going to talk about that in detail today. Looks really scary. Well, it won't happen. The vast majority of it won't happen. I'll analyze that in a minute. Is your heart rate variability better now? It's getting better slowly. Yes. Thank you. It's getting slowly better. I still have, since coming to Paraguay, the time zone, I still get like the dark circles under my eyes, even though I get 8.5 hours of sleep every night. I don't understand what that is all about. I have very white skin. You know what I did the other day, really quick? Those of you who can see me, guess what I did yesterday? I cut my own hair for the first time. So here in Paraguay, there's various salons I could go to, but as most of you already know, some of my hair on the top of my head is fake. So I'd have to explain to them about my fake hair and what to cut and what not to cut, and they wouldn't speak English. And I mean, and I thought yesterday, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I could just cut my own hair, because I already own a pair of clippers. So I watched 2 or 3, actually 3 or 4 YouTube videos how to cut your own hair with clippers. And I watched them. I went, well, that doesn't look very hard. All these years, I thought cutting my own hair would be a nightmare and I'll fuck it up. And because I already dye my own hair, I'm old. I already do that. It's like, well, shit, I'm going to give this a shot. And you know what? You can see me in the video. My hair looks great. It doesn't look good. It looks great. When I was done, I'm like, my hair looks awesome. Now, am I going to cut my hair the rest of my life? No. It's faster time management to have someone do it for me, especially when they come to my house, which they do in Dubai, and they will in Paraguay soon too. But, I'm pretty happy with it. Looks really good. I look just like Tom Cruise. I look just like James Bond. Dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun. They don't make them like that anymore? Dude. Let me give you an example. Here's a James Bond example. I'll give you a number of them. Even typical James Bond movies back in the olden days when things were great, like the alligator one, Live and Let Die with Roger Moore in the 70s. There was a scene in Live and Let Die where he had to jump across a lake, like a river, and he would step on 4 alligators to go on either side. He goes, and he runs across these alligators. Those were real alligators. They were not CGI. They didn't have CGI back then. And they were not fake robots or fake out. Those were real fucking alligators. So the stuntman had to jump on 4 alligators to get to the other side, and it took him 5 takes. And the first 4, he fell, and they would like bite his leg, and you can watch it on YouTube. Yeah, that's real. When you watch movies, that was real shit. In that same movie, they did a stunt with a car. Those of you who are old remember Live and Let Die. Or no, not Live and Let Die. Was it Live and Let Die? Yeah, Live and Let Die. The one where he does the voodoo things. He like jumps with a car. The car does a whole 360. It spins 360 degrees and lands. That was a real stunt they actually did in camera. It wasn't special effects. Yeah, you don't see that shit anymore, except for Tom Cruise. You don't see it anymore. Movies aren't like that anymore. Now they're all CGI and fake shit. And, you know, there was a movie that Clint Eastwood did in the 70s also called The Iger Sanction, which all of you forgot or you're too young to know because you weren't born in the 70s. And he's hanging by a rope thousands of feet in the air. It's really Clint Eastwood really fucking doing it. No one does that minus Tom Cruise. No one does that anymore. So you don't even know, in terms of pop culture, what you've lost. People who are like teenagers now don't even know what they've lost. Gen Z, my daughter's generation, my daughter's 26. She's the last generation to see this old stuff and realize what she doesn't have anymore. Because when she was younger, I showed her these movies. I mean, I showed her Aliens, and she's like, oh my God, that's the best movie ever. How come they don't make movies like that now? I'm like, yeah. So she's the last generation to know what they've lost. Kids like who are like teenagers or below, they don't even know. They won't even know, which maybe it's a good thing. Maybe they won't get as depressed. I don't know. Who knows? Trump will accelerate the collapse. Correct, he will. And so will Kamala. Yeah, I will give you specific analysis in a second. Like I said, you guys can be pissed. James Bond thing was cool, but you know what's even cooler? The Black Dragon thing. Get it back. I don't know how to do a theme song on StreamYard. I've asked this question before. If any of you nerds know how to do a theme song music I can play at the beginning of this podcast without me having to pay someone to put it in later, let me know and I'll do it. I'll bring back the theme song right now. Ozempic. You guys are talking about Ozempic? Yeah, I know a lot of women in Dubai on it. Ozempic has massive side effects, and as soon as you're off the drug, you're hungry again, so you'll just go right back to the way you're eating again. That's why I don't take it. And I'm also over 50. I don't want to fuck with my body. If I was 22 and didn't give a shit, maybe fine. Oh, great. What Trump will do if he wins and how it will sell the craps ridiculous title. All right, watch what I'm about to tell you. What did I just say earlier? You guys already seen this. This live stream will make a lot of you angry. I'm going to get a lot of, I can't get insults. You're not allowed to insult me on this channel. You can insult me somewhere else, but not on my channel. You're going to be very upset. Get ready. Start controlling yourself. So you're an example of somebody who can't control themselves. All right? Yes, the left-wingers are awful too. Oh yeah, I'm gonna piss a lot of you off, and you're gonna have to try to do your best, take some deep breaths and relax, and control your emotions and turn on your brain. Just because Trump is not Kamala Harris does not mean Trump is good. Kamala is awful. If Kamala wins, it will also accelerate the collapse, and that's my point. It will accelerate under either Kamala or Trump. Watch what I'm about to analyze in a minute. Matter of fact, should we start? Yeah, let's start right now. All right. So you guys can keep posting comments. I'm going to go into the topic here. What I'm going to do now is there is the Project 2025, but there is also, which is a little more general, there is also what Trump is calling Agenda 47. And this is the specific things that Trump wants to do if he is reelected president again. By the way, I don't believe in polls. Polls don't work. But those who believe in polls, Trump is now losing in the polls. Kamala is 5 points ahead of Trump. Now, it's not about polls being accurate or not. My point is, you Trump idiots, Americans, live in a country where Kamala Harris is ahead of Trump. That should tell you right there, if you're thinking rationally, and most of you Trump idiots aren't, that you are living in the wrong country. You are living in a country full of insane people. You should make plans to leave the country like I did. in 2021. That should tell you right there. This goes back to the stupid right-wing argument of we have to save America. Why do you want to save a bunch of woke socialists who hate you? America is a bunch of woke left-wing socialists who hate people like you. Why do you want to save those people? Why don't you get the fuck out, live an amazing life like I do, and let them go collapse on their own? That's what I did. Why don't you do that? Why do you want to save a bunch of left-wingers who hate you? You really got to look inward and ask yourself these questions, because you guys don't want to talk about this. Someone just insulted me, so now I got to get rid of somebody here. Hang on. So the rule on all my social media is ad hominem attacks are not allowed. Attack what I say, attack my techniques. By the way, ad hominem against other commenters is also not allowed. That's been my rule since 2009. The logs are like that. So if you say fuck you or in that stuff, I already got one. I may have some more. Then you'll get banned and you can go badmouth me on other websites. That's fine, but not here because you derail the conversation. So again, here we go. I'll see how like Trump will bring peace and prosperity to the world. Everyone's saying Trump will prevent World War III. Yeah, okay. Oh, one of you has it. Okay, well, I'll get back to your question in a second. All right, so anyway. Also, for context, I am not a left-winger. I have never voted for a Democrat in my entire life, unlike Donald Trump, who voted for left-wing Democrats most of his adult life. Well, Caleb, that's not true. He donated to both parties because he was playing the game. That's right. He donated to both parties because he was playing the game. But who did he actually vote for? Democrats. He said it himself. Go watch old interviews of him. I've never voted for a Democrat in my life because the left are insane. I don't vote for insane, but Trump did. The guy you think is your savior voted for left-wingers most of his life. Okay? So the left is insane. The left has always been insane. If Kamala or whomever else the Democrats decide to run wins in November, America is fucked. America is fucked anyway. The collapse will accelerate under Kamala Harris. It will also accelerate under Donald Trump. I'm about to show you exactly why. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go through now. These are all the bullet points from Agenda 47. You can Google this if you don't believe me, of what Trump wants to do when he's president. Okay. I'm going to go through each item and analyze two things: whether or not it's good or bad for the future of the United States, and whether or not it'll actually happen. Republicans, including Trump, unfortunately, are worse at Democrats when they make these giant promises that they never fucking do. Yes, Democrat presidents do that also. People running, they make a bunch of bullshit promises too. Republicans are worse at this. As I've said many times, the left is insane. The right are liars. So when the left says we want more socialism, more welfare spending, they mean that shit. They really mean it. And they will burn down cities to get it. When the right wing says we want more freedom, we want lower taxes, we want Trump to build a wall, they don't give a shit if Trump builds a wall. That's why when Trump said, I'm going to build a wall, and everyone said, yeah, he's going to build a wall, then he didn't build a wall, as I said he wouldn't. No one said a word, except for Ann Coulter. Good for her for having some integrity. Other than Ann Coulter, not one Trump supporter said, what the fuck, he didn't build a wall, he lied to us. Because you guys, most of you didn't care. You just got excited. So that's my problem with Republicans. They make a lot of promises they don't actually do. And so when I go through these promises of things he wants to do, I'm going to evaluate, A, is it good or bad? And then B, if it'll actually happen or if it's just a bunch of Disney bullshit, Trump is blowing smoke up your ass. And there's a lot of that in here. Let's see here. Trump is not Alpha 2.0. He's not even close. He's super outcome dependent. All right. Here we go. So here's each item. I'm going to go through each item of what he wants to do at present. Here we go. Here's the analysis. The analysis begins now. Implement a 10%, I'm just reading off a list. Implement a 10% universal tariff, oh my God, on all imported goods. Jesus Christ, right off we start the back with something horrible. To incentivize companies to manufacture in the U.S. All right. Trade is a complex topic. Let me give you the bottom line. No one can win a trade war. When there's a trade war between two companies, two or more countries, both countries lose. The one that jacks up the tariffs lose, and the ones paying the tariffs lose. If you have a society like Dubai where no one pays any taxes, then you can have a tariff and that might be okay. In the United States, where the average American spends 71 to 50% of his entire income in taxes he sees and taxes he don't, you're going to jack up a 10% tariff on everything coming in the country. Your economy will massively suffer if that actually happens. Now, the good news is that won't happen. Trump is lying. He's blowing smoke up your ass. Now, he might raise tariffs on certain things, sure. But a 10% universal tariff on all imported goods, that's not going to happen. But if that happened, you Americans would be fucked. And I mean fucked. Tariffs can work if you are careful. If everything else is working great, you can make tariffs work, and sometimes tariffs are a good idea. Not when your government owes $34 trillion, where in a few years, all taxpayer dollars will just to go to pay interest on the debt. And then you're going to add a 10% tariff. Insanity. Now, the good news is it's not going to happen. Trump is lying to you. That's the good news. Next one. Further reduce the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15%, building on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Good. This is good. Now, again, I'm objective and I'm rational. If something is good in this list, I'm going to tell you it's good. This is very good. America should slash its corporate tax to below 10%. That'll never happen. But he wants to take it from 21% to 15%. That is awesome. Now, here's the good news. That might happen because he slashed tax. The only thing Trump did right, there were two things that Trump did right the first time he was president. He cut my taxes. He didn't cut your taxes. He cut my taxes because I make a lot of money. And he handled Kim Jong-un, correctly. He handled the Korean crisis very well. So this is good. I hope he does this if he's president. It will help me, but it won't help you. Now, here's why this is bad for America. America's already in debt. The taxes aren't enough to pay all the, your government spends almost $11 trillion a year. If you add up local, state, and federal spending, 11 trillion, somewhere in there, almost $1 trillion a month. Taxes only cover a small percentage of that. You're gonna make taxes even smaller. That means you're gonna go further into debt. That means the collapse will accelerate. So if Trump cuts taxes, that'll be good for people like me, Americans who don't live in America and don't give a fuck about America. It'll help me. I will be cheering when he does this. It's gonna be a real problem for you and your long-term future, your kids. Huge problem. So there you go. Okay, next thing. Introduce a 2-out, 1-in regulation policy to continue deregulation, particularly targeting environmental, labor, and financial regulations. Okay, we don't know what that means. This is a libertarian thing, so it's a good thing, but there's a problem where if you pass a law, you must eliminate 2 other laws. Good. This will never happen. This is Disney fantasy. Trump is lying to you. He's blowing smoke up your ass. This will literally never, ever happen in the United States. I'm sorry. It won't. It'd be great if it did. Not going to happen. This is fantasy. This is Narnia, Lord of the Rings fantasy. We're going to pass a thing saying that every law that's passed in the federal, no. And by the way, it should not be eliminate 2 laws for every 1 new law. It should be eliminate 10 laws for every 1 new law. The United States Federal Register is over 65,000 pages of laws. It should be 10 to 1, not 2 to 1. And it's never going to happen. So nice, not going to happen. It's fantasy. Expanding drilling and mining on federal lands, including the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, and reduce restrictions on fracking. Good. That is very, very good. Should have done that already. Will that happen? Probably to a degree. It's probably not going to happen in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. The left-wingers are going to scream bloody murder. But yes, expanding drilling and mining on federal lands, all very, very, very good. It's not going to happen as much as he is saying because the left doesn't like that. So, and most people in America are left-wingers, including Trump supporters. But that is a good thing, yes. Offer tax credits and incentives to companies that bring manufacturing and supply chains back to the U.S. This is very good. This is the best one so far. That's how you bring companies back. You don't say we're going to charge a tariff on everybody and ruin our own economy. But if you say, hey, American companies, come back to our country and we'll give you tax breaks, great. Great idea. Will it happen? It'll probably happen under certain conditions. It won't happen globally. So that's a great idea. Great idea. Cancel Biden administration's renewable energy initiatives and focus on fossil fuel production, including coal and natural gas. That is not a governmental function. Go read the Constitution. Where in the Constitution does it say the President of the United States and the federal government should manage energy resources and coal and oil? No. The government has nothing to do with energy. There should be no Department of Energy. That's insanity. That is not the role of the federal government in a free country. Now, if you want a corporatist country, if you want a socialist country, if you want a fascist country, then yes, government should be doing all this shit. If you want a free, prosperous country where people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and paying 5% taxes and everyone's great, you don't want the government messing with any of this stuff. So that is terrible. The Biden administration or the Trump administration should go anywhere in energy. They should shut all that down tomorrow, right now. That's insane. That is not the role of government in a free country. The founding fathers were very clear about this in the Constitution. And go read the fucking Constitution. And here's the deal. If you don't like, because we're going to talk about this several times for a few of these things. If you don't like what's in the Constitution, you need to amend the Constitution. You can't just ignore the Constitution, which is what both Trump supporters and left-wingers do. Right-wingers and left-wingers in the United States have been doing this for almost before I was born. I'm in my 50s. They just ignore parts of the Constitution they don't like. And that's why we have all the problems we have today. Next one. Use military funds to complete the construction of the border wall. Along the U.S. border with additional and technology enhancements like drones and sensors. All right, a number of things. Number one, why is Trump saying he'll build a wall when he said he was going to build a wall back in 2017? Trump said when he ran for president the first time, I'm going to build a wall. So he was president for 4 years. Did he build a wall? So why is he now saying, okay, this time I'll build a wall? Because he fucking lied to you and you guys bought it. Now, again, most of you didn't care if he built a wall, but you bought it. A lot of you in my audience said, he's going to build a wall, Caleb. I said, no, he's not. And I was right and you were wrong. He's not. So first, he's already lied to you once about this. If any of you vote for Trump because you think he's going to build a fucking wall, a 20-foot wall, from San Diego to Brownsville, Texas, thousands of miles. He's literally going to build a wall. If any of you believe he's going to do that this time, you are the literal definition of retarded. You are a retard if you literally think that's going to happen this time. You were stupid when it happened the first time, but at least you weren't sure. I knew he was going to do it. You think he's going to do it now? You're retarded. And you're hopeless, and you are exhibit A as to why America is collapsing. Because people like you are voting in elections. If that's what you really think. Now, if you think, oh, he's not going to build it, he's just full of shit. Well, why are you voting for someone who's full of shit? That's the next question. Well, he's lying. He's not going to really do it, but I'm still going to vote for him anyway because I vote for liars. You see why America's getting worse and worse? You people keep voting for liars. You did this with Trump. You did this with George W. Bush. You did it with Mitt Romney and John McCain. You vote for liars. I don't vote for liars. I don't know why you guys vote for liars. Christ. The next one. Reinstate and expand the Remain in Mexico policy, requiring asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while their claims are processed. Okay, that's fine. However, here's the problem. There should be no asylum given to anyone in the United States. When you have a bankrupt welfare state, the United States is the largest welfare state in the history of the world. When you have a bankrupt welfare state, you can't give anyone asylum. You can't afford it. You're up to $37 trillion in debt. And because of people like Trump, I talked about this in prior podcasts, people like Trump, who is the second biggest contributor to that, besides Obama, you can't afford to give anyone asylum. Now, if you have no welfare state, you can. If you're like Dubai, where if you come to Dubai, there's no you don't get 1 penny of anything for free. Dubai, where I live, does this correctly. They say, you want to live here? Great. If you come live here from some other country, you're either going to go to work and pay your own bills, or you're going to starve and die in the street, or you're going to go back to your home country. Those are your three options. We're not going to give you a fucking penny. Now, if that's your attitude, then you can give people all asylum you want. You can't do that in the United States. You can't say anyone who comes here gets a $40,000 a year free shit from the taxpayer. No. Issue an executive order ending birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. to non-citizen parents. Good. Same thing. If you are a welfare state, you cannot have birthright citizenship. That's insane. Again, if you have no welfare state, do whatever you want. But if you insist on having the biggest welfare state in the history of the world, you Americans, you can't have that. So glad. I don't know if he'll actually do that. He could issue an executive order. So maybe that'll happen. Maybe he'll do that. Good. That's a good thing. Let's see, hang on a second. Require all employers to use, require all employers to use E-Verify to ensure they are not hiring undocumented workers with severe penalties for non-compliance. No, 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 no. In a free market capitalist economy, you should be allowed to start your own business and you should be allowed to hire anyone you want. It doesn't matter if they're a citizen or not. It doesn't matter if they're an illegal or not. It's your company. You should be allowed to hire anyone you want. Now, if the government comes in and says, we're going to fund your company 50%, then of course they have the right to say, okay, wait, now you can't hire these people, can't hire those people, can't. Fine. Is the government going to help you start a business? Is the government going to give you thousands to start a company? No. You got to start your own business, don't you? Which means it's your business, not the government's. This is authoritarian fascistic bullshit. You should be allowed to hire anyone. But Caleb, illegal aliens are bad. Separate topic. Then start your own business and don't hire any illegals. But that's your decision. But your friend down the street should be able to start any business he wants and hire anyone he wants through any way he wants. That's why there should be no minimum wage laws. If he wants to pay illegal Mexicans $1 an hour, he should be allowed to do that. It's called the free market capitalistic system. Well, I don't like illegal. Okay, you don't have to like them. It's not, then start your own business and don't hire them. Don't tell your other 300 million Americans who they should be allowed to hire in their companies. Are you going to go help them start their own business? No, then fuck off. Fuck you. This is where right-wingers get really, really dangerous. When they start talking about, we're going to crack down on employers. Employers is your economy. 80% of your economy are small business owners. You're going to crack down on them? Fuck you. You are insane. I guess what you could do is, if you wanted to do this for like big giant corporations like Amazon or General Motors, making them do E-Verify, then okay, maybe. But small business, let them do whatever the fuck they want. God damn. E-Verify sounds like a plugin for the digital ID WEF plans to bring across the world. Exactly right. This is where right-wing conservatives and Trump idiots start getting really scary when they start talking like this. When you start cracking down on business owners because we don't like illegal Mexicans. Fuck you, you authoritarian dicks. God damn. No wonder your country's collapsing before your eyes. All right, next one. Limit visas from countries deemed high risk. Oh my God, okay, here we go again. Limit visas from countries deemed high risk for terrorism or overstay violations and increase vetting process for visa applicants. Okay. If you guys recall, those you know me a while, who've been following my content for a long time, my original plan was to leave the collapsing USA in 2025. That was my original plan. And then a bunch of things happened, and I upped my timetable to 2021. I got the fuck out. A lot of that was the riots and COVID and shit like that. But the genesis of that decision, I talked about my blogs what happened, was when Trump was president. This happened, I think, in 2018 or 19. They did this. They said, all right, we're not letting any visas in, any visitors in from these 9 or 10 or 11 countries. I suggest you go read the blog article or the news reports of what happened when they did that week. All the airports in the entire United States were basically shut down. They snarled all the airports. There were thousands of people who were blocked at the airports who couldn't get in or out. And it was a nightmare for about a week just because Trump signed a piece of paper. He destroyed the airports for like a week and a half. And then the Trump administration said, oh, I guess we were stupid. We shouldn't have done that. And then they rescinded it and the airports went back to normal. So if they do this again, you're going to fuck your commerce. You're going to fuck your airports. You're going to fuck your airlines. It's going to be a goddamn mess. They will not handle this correctly. You cannot say we're going to ban everyone or have no visas or whatever from these 8, 9, 10, 12 countries. You can't do that. Unless you want to be an isolationist country, then that's a decision you need to make separately. They're going to fuck. If they do that again, they're going to fuck it up, just like they did the first time. By the way, you know what the solution to this is? The solution to terror, as I've talked about on the blogs for 15 years now, Stop attacking countries. Stop bombing people in other countries, then you won't have a terrorist problem. Does Switzerland have a terrorist problem? Does Hong Kong have a terrorist problem? No, they don't. Why? Why aren't all these terrorists trying to bomb people and blow up cities and blow up buildings in Switzerland and Hong Kong and places like that? Why is that? Because these countries don't fuck with other countries. They don't attack other countries. They keep their fucking noses to themselves. They stay the fuck out of it, which is what you're supposed to do when you're a country and you want to have a free and prosperous society. Stop attacking other countries. We're into 5 different wars right now in the United States. They're bombing 5 different countries. What the fuck? Of course that causes terrorism. Stop doing that and suddenly terrorists won't want to bomb you. It's very simple. You see the Republicans calling for ending literally all wars and pulling all troops out of all countries, which is what I would do if I was president, and then I'd be assassinated. You see any Republicans? No, you don't. You don't see that. They say, well, we got to be there because, all right, they have all kinds of terrorism problems. Have fun. Have fun going through your next. Stupid. Next one. Withdraw the U.S. from the World Health Organization, restricting those funds to domestic health initiatives. Yes, that's a fantastic idea. Yes. You should withdraw from NATO. You should withdraw from the United Nations. Yes. If I was Emperor of the United States, the United Nations, I would immediately withdraw from the United Nations, and I would give the United Nations 2 years to get out of the United States and go put your headquarters somewhere else. We want nothing to do with it. Yeah, so I would go further than that, but that's good. Great. Redirecting those funds to domestic health initiatives. No, it is not the role of the federal government to fund healthcare. That is socialist. Donald Trump is a fiscal socialist. He has said numerous times, he said it during the presidential election last time, that if I'm president, no one will be without healthcare. The government will pay for all your healthcare. That is Bernie Sanders Socialism 101. That's insanity. And a lot of Trump supporters back in 2016, 17 pretended he didn't say it. They just kind of ignored it when he said that. When he started talking like Bernie Sanders, like a socialist, because Trump is a fiscal socialist, not a complete socialist. They just pretended he didn't say that. Well, I heard him say it. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Next one here. Where is he? Expand tariffs on Chinese goods to 25% across the board and restrict Chinese investment in U.S. economy, technology. Okay, I already talked about tariffs. I already talked about that. No. 25%? No. China will lose and America will lose. You will damage your economy. I already talked about that. Restrict Chinese investment in the U.S. technology infrastructure. That's fine. I don't disagree with that at all. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Renegotiate NATO agreements to ensure member countries pay at least 2% of their GDP on defense or face U.S. withdrawal from military commitments. 2 pieces of that. 1, this will never happen. This is fantasy. This will never, ever, ever. The elites would be totally against this. That's not going to happen. So that's nice thought, Trump. It's nice to talk tough and jerk off your audience, but this is never going to happen. Number 2, you should go further than that. America should withdraw from NATO. NATO should have been, I've said this for 20 years, NATO should have been disbanded in the 90s. At the fall, when the Soviet Union collapsed and when Germany reunified, you should have disbanded NATO. NATO is the reason why there's a war in Ukraine right now and hundreds of thousands of civilians are getting slaughtered in Ukraine because of fucking NATO. There should be no NATO. This is insane. So you should go further. So that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen either. But this is the country you're supporting by staying in the United States. Formally recognize Taiwan as an independent country and increase military aid. Oh my God, including arms sales. All right. The first half of that is fine. If you want to formally recognize Taiwan as an independent country, that's fine. China will be pissed, but China's already pissed. That's okay. Increase military aid. A lot of Trump supporters are voted for Trump because they thought incorrectly he would end the wars. He's telling you right now he wants to send more of your tax dollars to Taiwan. By the way, the number one goal of the Republican Party, not Trump in particular, but the Republican Party, is to send more money to Ukraine. Your tax dollars, Americans. So Trump wants to send your tax dollars to Taiwan. Selling arms to Taiwan? What are you doing? This is insanity. This is Dick Cheney neocon elite shit. This is garbage. And this is what Trump wants. Continue to broker peace deals between Israel and Arab nations, Abraham Accords, while reducing U.S. military presence in the region. All good. That is good. Especially reduce military presence in the region. Yes. Why don't you end military presence in the region? You can have the Navy poised in international waters. That's okay. There should not be any military bases anywhere in the Middle East. And I say that as someone who lives in the Middle East. I live in the Middle East. I would feel safer as an American living in Dubai if there were no military bases, American bases in the Middle East, because they would actually be more stable. Again, you have nuclear weapons. You could point them at certain people. You have the Navy and internet. That's fine. No military bases. That's why Osama bin Laden did 9/11, because we had too many fucking military bases. And I've said that libertarians have used this argument before. Well, how would you like it if China had a bunch of military bases in your town? Would you like that? No, you wouldn't. Fully ban TikTok and other Chinese-owned tech companies from operating in the U.S. due to national security concerns. That is fine with me. That is okay. I think that is valid. This will not happen. Trump is not going to ban TikTok. Too many people make too much money on TikTok, including some elites. They're not going to ban it. Now, I'll tell you when TikTok gets banned. When China invades Taiwan. When China invades Taiwan, then America will suddenly ban TikTok. But they're probably not going to do that. I mean, I could be wrong on this one, but probably not. Ban other Chinese-owned tech companies from operating to national security, because I think that's perfectly valid. It's absolutely valid. Sure, that's fine. All right, moving on. Fully repeal the Affordable Care Act, which is Obamacare, and replace it. No, don't replace it with a system of block grants. No. Allowing states to tailor their own healthcare systems. All right, let me explain how this works. A lot of you Trump idiots don't know this. Yes, Obamacare should be repealed right this second. It's an abomination. When Donald Trump was president and they did repeal and replace, remember that? Repeal and replace Obamacare. Here's something most of you Trump supporters didn't know. As I mentioned earlier, Trump is a fiscal socialist. Trump likes government-run healthcare. He likes that. Cuckoo. He likes it, okay? So when Steve Bannon and those guys back then told Trump, okay, we're going to repeal Obamacare, Donald Trump originally said, we can't repeal Obamacare. People need healthcare. They said, well, you got to repeal it because our base doesn't like it. Well, wait a minute, but I want the government to pay people healthcare, Donald Trump said. So Donald Trump made his people add repeal and replace. So we're going to repeal this big government socialist program with another big government socialist program, because Donald Trump is a fiscal socialist. What he should have said was repeal. Obamacare should be repealed and replaced with nothing. I will say this again. Where in the Constitution, where in any of the founding documents did it say the federal government will pay for all human beings' health care in the United States? That's socialism. That is Western European style socialism. That's Norway, Sweden shit. Now, if you want that, as I said many times, go move to Sweden and then get all the fucking free healthcare you want. Fine. But in a free economy where healthcare is cheap and effective, the government doesn't have anything to do with healthcare. In the 1960s, the American healthcare system was the best in the world and the cheapest in the civilized world. It was cheap in the 60s. And the doctor came to your house. Why is that? Because the government had nothing to do with it. In the 1960s, the average surgery was somewhere around, don't quote me on the exact number, but somewhere around the average 6 weeks of the average salary. The average surgery costs 6 weeks or 7 weeks of the average person's salary. Today, the average surgery costs something like 4 years the average salary. Why? What happened? Because the government got involved in the early 70s with HMOs and the insurance companies, and they skyrocketed the cost of healthcare. If you just get government out of fucking healthcare, healthcare will be super fucking cheap and it'll be easy to afford, like it is here in Paraguay and Dubai. I just did a live stream on that last week. Next one. Allow health insurance companies to sell policies across state lines to increase competition and lower premiums. Fantastic. That should have been done 40 years ago. Problem is, it will not happen. The elites don't want this. That is not going to happen in the United States. That is fantasy. Trump is blowing smoke up your ass. I would bet any one of you $25,000 Trump will not do that. That's not going to happen. That is fantasy. He's selling you a bill of goods. He is lying to you again. Yes, that should happen. It's not going to happen. Trump can't make that happen. Mandate price transparency for all prescription drugs and healthcare services, and allow the importation of prescription drugs from countries like Canada. What I just said, that is a fantastic idea. That is not going to happen in the United States. Way too many elites make way too much money by having opaque pricing strategies. That's why America's healthcare system is the most expensive in the entire world. It's more expensive than Europe. I mean, Europe has high taxes too, but at least they get free healthcare. Americans have high taxes and they have to pay for their healthcare. No, that's not going to happen. Cool idea, never going to happen. Expand health savings accounts by increasing contribution limits and allowing HSAs to be used for a broader range of medical services. Good. I have an HSA account. If you're an American, you should have one. Any American who has their own business should have an HSA account. It allows you to write off your medical expenses. Yes, anything that causes Americans to pay less taxes and more easily be able to afford healthcare services, great idea. Now, again, any reduction in taxes will accelerate the collapse of the United States. If you really wanted to save the United States, you would jack taxes way up because you got to pay for all these, got this gigantic bloated monster of a government you guys created. Introduce reforms to Medicare, such as means testing for wealthier seniors and raising the eligibility age. I can't say that word, sorry. This is all fine. Medicare should be abolished. The federal government has no role in providing health care to anyone. That is not the role of the government in a capitalist, free market, free country. If you want a socialist country, then yes, government should provide everything and everything will be awful. Fine. But if you want a prosperous economy with high quality, inexpensive healthcare, government should have nothing to do with it. Medicare should be abolished. But this is, as stated, this is fine. HSAs suck. No, they don't. Many of us don't have yearly healthcare costs. Then you don't do them. They're optional. HSAs are optional. You don't need yearly costs. It carries over to the next year. You don't understand how HSAs work. You can put $3,500 in your HSA. If you don't use it, you just put another $35 next year and you can use it later. You can use it anytime you want. So I don't think you understand how HSAs work. Dramatically expand charter schools and voucher programs, allowing federal funds, no federal funds, to follow students to any school of their choice, including private and religious schools. This is a perfectly fine idea. I have no problem with this. But again, you don't pay federal taxes that go into education. Where in the Constitution does it say the federal government will provide education for its people? That's socialism again. And the reason America is so fucked up is because the schools are run by the government. If none of the schools were run by the government, you wouldn't have kids wouldn't be so fucked up today, including many of you who got raised in public school systems. I did too. And I taught, my books talk about unlearning the bullshit and the societal programming from these government-run private schools. Government should have nothing to do with schools in a free and prosperous economy. But within that horrible, broken system, this is fine. Ban federal funding. There should be no federal funding, but okay, ban federal funding is good. For any school that teaches critical race theory, gender ideology, or any curriculum Trump deems unpatriotic. Fine. There should be no federal funding, but anything that reduces federal funding for schools, I don't care the reason, I'm for that. That's fine. That's good. Establish a national patriotic education commission. Is that what you want your tax dollars going to for your federal government? Shouldn't it be going to your state and local government? To develop a curriculum based on American history, the Constitution, and civic values. This is fascism. The federal government should have nothing to do with this shit. What this is frighteningly disgusting fascism. No. Encourage states to implement merit-based. By the way, let me rewind. Some of you extreme right-wingers who want a theocracy, that's not the way America was designed. And if you want a theocracy, you should go move to a state, secede from the union, and then go have a Christian theocracy. and then teach Jesus in schools. I'm not against that. I live in a mild theocracy, so it's fine. But that's not what America. You're not going to make America into a theocracy when the vast majority of people in America are left-wingers who are atheists. It's not going to happen. You're fantasizing. Encourage states. Okay, anything on this list that says encourage or call for, I'm just going to skip because it doesn't matter what you encourage. You encourage it. Encourage states to implement merit-based pay for teachers, rewarding high performance, blah, blah, blah. If it says encourage or call for or push for, I'm just going to ignore that item because the president can encourage a call for whatever he wants. That's fine. Once they implement policy. Propose a federal school safety plan that includes arming. Okay, again, proposing, I don't care. You can propose whatever you want. He wants to arm teachers and install metal detectors. Why do you live in a country where you have to install metal detectors in normal schools? Is that a country you want to be living in? I've told this before. My wife and I know a family in Dubai where they have 2 kids and they had to move to the United States for work. And they had to sit down and explain to their kids that they might be shot when they go to school. The kid's like, what? Because we don't have that problem in Dubai. We don't have that problem here in Paraguay. You have the problem in the United States. Why do you want to live in the United States? When kids are being shot in schools and you have to install metal detectors, that alone should tell you that you shouldn't be living in the U.S. You should be making plans to leave the U.S. as soon as you can. Just like the thing about Kamala is 5 points ahead in the polls. That should tell you right there you live in the wrong country. And Trump's not going to fix any of this. One of you is saying in the USA, people are not having kids, but your property taxes go up to pay for schools. Right. Right. I know. Yeah, correct. Provide federal grants to local police departments. No. The police local cops have nothing to do with the federal government to hire more officers, purchase advanced equipment, and conduct more rigorous training. Fascism. This is militaristic fascism. You do not want the federal government getting involved in your local police department. That's insanity. This is another place where right-wingers, Trump supporters, right-wing Christians get really dangerous and really scary. We want the federal government to come into your local police department and give them a bunch of money. So now you're paying taxes to go to police departments all over the nation. And we're going to arm them and give them tanks. And oh, that's a great idea. God. Introduce mandatory minimum sentences for violent crimes, drug trafficking, and assaults on law enforcement officers. All right. This is another point of confusion with conservatives and Trump supporters. The Constitution and any of the founding documents, it does not say the federal government's there to prosecute drug traffickers or murderers. There are only 3 crimes that the federal government is allowed to pursue: piracy, treason, and counterfeiting. That's it. It does not have the authority to pursue murderers, drug dealers, drug lords. That is not within the purview of the federal government. Individual states and cities can do whatever they like. The federal government has no authority over this. That's why this stuff about abortion, the federal government should ban abortion because it's murder. The federal government doesn't enforce murder. That is not the role of the federal government in a free and prosperous society. If you want an authoritarian society, then yes, the federal government should enforce all these laws and all these crimes. Yeah, you won't be free. So no, this is not the business of the federal government. Introduce mandatory minimum sentences. That is up to your individual state or government. And the way it's supposed to work is you move to a state that is really tough on crime. Or if you live in a state that's weak on crime and more crime, you leave that state and you go to another state where it's tough on crime, and everyone moves to where they like. Instead of the federal government saying every country, every state, every city in the world will, every city and state in the country will do this. That's authoritarianism. No. Support the expansion of stop and frisk policies in cities with high crime rates. Same exact thing. This is a city issue. Let cities run their own crime policies. If they fuck up and there's a massive amount of crime, people will leave those cities and go to more well-run cities. That's the way it's supposed to work. And the cities who are really light on crime and let criminals, like California, where they can, steal up to $900, those cities should go bankrupt. That's how it's supposed to work. Those cities should collapse. You want to save those cities. People should fucking leave and those cities should collapse. That's how it's supposed to work. And the cities who are tough on crime, which I agree with, those should prosper. The federal government has nothing to do with this. And again, if you don't like the Constitution, if you think the Constitution should, support cops, local cops, then go make a constitutional amendment saying the federal government now has the right to send hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars to police officers all over the country. Fine, go do that. Get that done. Let's see, where was I? Increase federal penalties for participating in riots, looting, and violent protests, making these offenses federal crimes with long prison sentences. No. Again, the federal government has the right to pursue pirates, counterfeiters, and people who engage in treason. That's it, not rioters. Now, again, if you want to do that, I wouldn't be against, I'd be against some of that. I'd be against some of it, not others. You need to initiate a constitutional amendment saying the federal government can now prosecute rioters. And you will be, if that happens, you'll be imprisoning millions of people a year because you have more and more riots as time goes on, as America continues to collapse. You'll be like, like it is now. Expand the use of racketeer influence and corrupt organizations, that's the RICO Act, to target organized crime, including gangs, drug cartels, and Antifa. Again, that is not the role of the federal government. Sorry, it's not. And if you want it to be, you need to make a constitutional amendment. I'm sorry. You need to let individual states manage their own crime problems. And some of them will do well, and some of them will do shitty. And the ones that do shitty, people will leave, and those states will go bankrupt as they should. Introduce legislation to make the murder of a law enforcement officer a federal crime punishable by the death penalty. Okay, that'll never happen. This will never happen. This is fantasy again. Nice. He's jerking off his audience, but it's never going to happen. And again, the murder of anyone, including cops, is not the purview of the federal government. In a free and prosperous society, if you want an authoritarian society, if you want a fascist society, then yes, the federal government comes down and deals with murderers all over the country. Jesus Christ, I wouldn't want to live there. Ensure the U.S. remains out of the Paris Climate Agreement and roll back Biden administration climate regulations. Good. Excellent. You should do that right now. That's good. Agree. Agree 100%. For you left-wingers listening, global climate change is not something you can solve politically. You can recycle all you want in your little house in Denver, Colorado, and Russia and China and India and Southeast Asia are going to pollute the atmosphere all they fucking want. There is nothing you can do to stop it. NATO's not going to stop it. United Nations is going to stop it. What are you going to do? Invade these countries to stop them polluting? No, you're not going to do that. So this is not solvable politically. Global climate change, which I agree is a problem. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a right winger. I'm also not a left winger. I'm rational. I'm objective. Yeah, climate change is a problem, and a percentage of it is caused by human activity. Yes, the only way to solve that is through technology. Someone's going to have to invent something. You will not be able to vote for anything or pass any law in any country that will solve that problem if you're a left winger. Revoke any federal restrictions on coal mining, oil drilling, and natural gas production, and provide subsidies to fossil fuel companies. No! Okay, the first part is great. Revoke any federal restrictions on coal mining, oil drilling, and natural gas production. Absolutely, states should be allowed to drill their own land any way they want. And if you don't like it, you leave that state, go to a different state. Great. Provide subsidies to fossil fuel companies? You want your tax dollars going to big oil? Is that where you want your tax dollars going, you Americans? When you pay federal taxes, you want to go to oil companies? Really? Is that what you want your money? This is the guy you want to vote for. He wants to give billions of your dollars to oil companies. Is that the role of government? Is that what you want with your tax dollars? Really? Really? To go to CEOs of big oil companies? That's what Trump wants. This is what you want? And if you want that, you're insane. I don't know what your problem is. Jesus, God. You see how I'm talking about Trump as a fiscal socialist? This is where he's a fiscal fascist. He wants to send your money to corporations. No tax dollars should go to any person or any corporation, especially federal tax dollars. Now, local cities and states can say that stuff, but the federal government, no. The fuck? This is insane. This is what Trump wants. The guy you want. Okay. Fast track approvals for major infrastructure projects, including pipelines and highways, by cutting environmental review times. Agree. I agree with that. If they want to just cut environmental review times, I agree. I have no problem with that. That's a good idea. Infrastructure is a problem. Now, you can't. Now, in order for infrastructure, you need to cut government spending in 10,000 other places so you can afford infrastructure. You're spending trillions of dollars to attack a bunch of countries all over the planet, you Americans, on your tax dollars. You need to slash all that shit. You spend trillions of dollars on welfare and paying people not to work and fraud and abuse. Clean up all that shit and then put the save money into infrastructure. Yes. Is that going to happen? No, it's going to get worse. Just like it got worse under Trump, and it got worse under Biden, and it got worse under Obama, and it got worse under Bush. Allow expanded logging and deforestation on federal lands to boost the timber industry and reduce the risk of wildfires. Yes, big, as long as they replant. As long as you replant trees, for every one tree you replant two, there's some kind of model they use. Yes, that is a fantastic idea. I don't think that'll happen. I think it's very unlikely to occur, but that's a great idea. Great idea. Love it. Some of you are saying CO2 levels rise in the atmosphere after the temperature rises. Except climate change is a real problem. No, it's a corporate scam. Oh, one of you is saying corporate scam. Here's the problem with climate change. There is no consensus, scientific consensus, on what percentage of the climate. Sorry, my signal is cutting out. Let me wait a second here. Climate change is mostly a natural phenomenon. That is correct. But then you're saying human activity has 0% effect on the climate change. Is that correct? I don't think so. Now, we don't know what the percentage that is. It could be 5%. It could be 17%. It could be 40%. There's no consensus on the percentage of how much climate change is human activity. But to say it's 100%, like a lot of woke left-wingers say, is insanity. And to say it's 0%, which is what a hard right-wingers say, is also insanity. It's not objective or rational. The rational answer is it is some percentage, but we have no idea what that is. It could be 10%. Who knows? I'm just saying you can't fix it politically, because that's also true. Invest in nuclear energy? No. Yes, we needed to. Yes, America needs to invest in nuclear energy. Absolutely. It needs to do that. The private sector, not big government. That's socialist shit. The government, federal government role is not to give your tax dollars to energy companies, to nuclear power plant companies. No. Invest in nuclear energy as a key part of America's energy strategy, streamline the approval process for new reactors. That part's okay. Streamlining the approval process for new reactors, yes, that's a great idea. I'm for that. Investing, no. Go Google Solyndra, which happened under Obama, when Obama invested in R&D. The federal government should not be investing in any energy or scientific companies. No, that's fascism/socialism. No, goddamn, no. Continue to appoint conservative judges to federal courts, prioritizing originalist interpretations of the Constitution. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. No problem. Great. Appoint justices to the Supreme Court who oppose Roe v. Wade and support states' rights to restrict or ban abortion. That's an oxymoron. That contradicts itself. So, well, here's the thing. Individual states, so I guess I agree with this. Individual states, yes, should decide if abortion is legal or illegal. If you live in a right-wing conservative state and those voters want to make abortion illegal, great. And if you don't like it, you think that's horrible, you move to another state that's more left-wing about it and lets people get abortions. And people move to whatever state you want, and that's fine. The federal government can't say no abortions or everyone should be allowed to get abortions. The federal government needs to stay the fuck out of it. The states decide these things. That's the entire point of federalism when the United States was formed. Doesn't matter if you're a right-wing conservative or a left-wing woke liberal, or if you think abortion is murder, or you think a woman should be able to get abortion at 9 months. None of that's relevant. States should decide. There's 50 states. Each state should decide, and you go move to the state that most accurately reflects your value systems. And that means conservatives and left-wingers, that you'll see states on the map that are doing things you don't like. Well, tough shit, Buttercup. Suck it up. Introduced legislation to limit the power of federal judges to issue nationwide injunctions. I don't know about that one. I'm not sure what he means by injunctions. Injunctions of what type? I think that sounds okay, but I would need more data to comment on that. Push for tort reform. Okay, again, push for, I'm going to ignore because he can push for anything he wants. Increase the defense budget? It says this. He really wants this. Increase the defense budget to strengthen the military? Focusing on modernizing the nuclear arsenal, cyber warfare capabilities, and space defense? Do you guys not? Most of you, even you psycho Trump supporters, probably don't agree with that. There might be a percentage of that do, though. Do you realize that the Pentagon lost $1 trillion of taxpayer money? It's just gone. They don't know where it is. Was it 1 trillion or 3 trillion? Let me know in the chat. Was that 1 trillion they lost or 3 trillion? I forget about that. Was it one? Anyway, it was at least $1 trillion. You can watch when Jon Stewart was in front of an audience interviewing the budget director of the Pentagon, this woman. He's like, you guys lost $1 trillion tax money. Isn't that fraud? She's like, fuck you. No, it's fine. Trump wants to give these people more money. They lost $1 trillion of your tax dollars. Trump wants to give these people, Trump wants to spend more money on the military. Do you understand the military spending as compared to the second biggest, which is China? It's like not even close. What the fuck? That's one of the first places you should cut and build infrastructure and build bridges and highway. Have you driven on a road in California? This is insane. Trump's insane. God damn. Caleb, with all due respect, you were incorrect about Trump spending more on the national debt than Obama. I didn't say that. Obama spent more. Trump spent second biggest. So go watch the live stream we did last week, week 4. Trump was number 2. Obama was worse. Correct. Obama was worse. You're right. I didn't say that. Okay, where are we? Jesus Christ. Expand the Veterans Choice Program, allowing veterans to receive private health care paid for by the government. That's okay because part of the role of government is to take care of veterans. So that's all right. And I feel sorry for veterans, how fucked you guys get. A lot of you are veterans. You guys get fucked. So one of the few areas that the federal government should increase their spending is veterans benefits. Yes. You serve in the military, government has an obligation to take care of you the rest of your life. Absolutely. That's the one. That's not social. And that's not everybody. Just veterans. Not everybody. Not Social Security. Veterans. So I agree with that. Agree. Deploy the military. Oh my God. Let me give it a chance. Deploy the military to assist in border security operations and prevent illegal crossings, particularly at key hotspots. That's okay. Part of the role of the military is to defend the border. That is perfectly valid. I know left-wingers don't like that, but left-wingers don't like the military at all. So I've said this many times in my blogs. I want a very strong, powerful military that stays home and doesn't attack anybody. That's what you want. If you want to live in the ideal country, you want a country with a very strong military for its size that stays home and doesn't attack anybody. It's there if you need it, including nuclear weapons. I'm pro nukes that you never use. You've got them. That's what you want. So that's fine. Got a few more here. Deploy the military. Oh, no, I already said that. Expand the U.S. Space Force capabilities, focusing on satellite defense, space exploration, and countering Chinese and Russian advancements. If you end the empire, the American empire, where you have over 900 military bases all over the planet Earth for no fucking reason, shut down those military bases, slash spending, get out of these countries, stop bombing countries, then take some of the savings and put it into a space program. That's okay. But that's not what Trump's going to do. He wants to expand. He wants to increase the defense budget. So no. God. Implement stricter military justice reforms to issues like sexual assault and misconduct in the armed forces. That's a left-wing thing. This is where Trump is a left-winger. Implement stricter military justice reforms to address issues like sexual assault and misconduct within the armed forces. How does that ring, you guys in the armed forces, or you male veterans? Do you like that? Do you like that? Be honest with me. Do you like that? That's a left-wing thing. That gets into a whole issue about women in the military. I'll summarize this. Yes, women should be allowed in the military, but in certain scenarios, it should be totally segregated. For example, on the front lines, you can't have a platoon of half men and half women. That will never fucking work. If you want a platoon of all men and a separate platoon, miles away of all women, and then you see which one does, how effective they are, fine. They have problems in the Navy where they have these submarines and half are women and half are men, and like 1/3 of the women on the submarine get pregnant. They're in the submarine for 6 months. They all fuck each other. They get pregnant, and then they dock, and they have to offload 1/3 of the women because they get pregnant. This doesn't work. So why don't you just fix the problem of no integration in certain... Now, if you're back at the base and women are working in the office and half men, that's fine. But there's scenarios where men and women should not be integrated in the military if you want a lethal, effective fighting force. So then you wouldn't have these fucking sexual assault. You wouldn't have that shit. Yeah. All right. Next one. Where's the next one? Okay. Before we go to the next one, I got to pause for a second. I'm going to share my screen. Something just started today. I have a lot more things to cover. Hang on. Hang on, I'm going to share my screen here. If you're listening to the podcast, I will explain it. Don't worry. The SMIC Vault. For many years, if you didn't know, for about 12 years, I ran a program called SMIC. Later, it was called UMS, where it was a private program where we had weekly videos, video conferences, custom videos, newsletters, blogs. It was all behind a paywall. And what you can, and I canceled that program last year. What you can now do is you can now get access to all that material over 12 years. It is a total of 220 hours of video, 84 hours of audio, and hundreds of pages of documents. Half of this is business and 5 flags information that I do not talk about publicly. The other half is Alpha Male 2.0 stuff. I realize this is Unchained CEO. I apologize for the slight diversion. The other half is dating and relationship advice for men, dating multiple women and things like that. So it's half dating and relationship stuff, half it's everything, half business and 5 flags. This is not available in any of my other products. This is stuff I don't talk about publicly ever. I talk about details of my life and how I manage my women and how I manage my investments, things I don't talk about publicly because I can't. It's all in here. And it's only a few $100 for hundreds of hours of content. If you purchased the big bundle that I sold a few weeks ago, this is not part of that bundle. You do not have access to this part of that bundle. This is different. This is the SMIC Vault. This is not the Mastery Bundle. You can only get this until Saturday. I'm shutting it off on Saturday. We just turned on the button right now. We just turned it on. It's Caleb, www.caleb.top/SMIC. I'll put a ticker on here in a second. You've got 5 days. It's only a few $100, and you get access to all of this content. How to close a sale over Zoom call, how to do a trio with women, how to make money as an online coach, how to date women different races. So I mix everything. Cryptocurrency techniques. I cover all this stuff. Techniques on how to make 7 figures. TRT stuff, testosterone, investing in gold and silver. I did this for 13 years. 13 years of content, not available in any of my public stuff, not available in any of my other courses, just the SMIC Vault. I offered this briefly back in February, and a bunch of you asked me to do this again, so I'm doing it again. 80 group conferencing calls, 40 training video sessions, over 100 audio training sessions, 75 hot sheets. This is stuff I write every month. I would do 1 or 2 of these of exactly what I'm doing in my businesses and what I do in my personal life. Stuff I can't talk about publicly. It's all there. You only get it until midnight on Saturday EST. Then I'm shutting this off and you can't get it at all. SMIC Vault. And it is not part of the bundle you guys got a little while ago. If you have that bundle, you do not have access to this. Okay? It's separate. This is a completely separate thing. Cool, cool. Where's the link? There it is. www.caleb.top/SMIC. Only available till Saturday. We just turned the button on now. Is it 1 p.m. after 1 p.m.? It is. So we just turned the button on like 2 hours ago. So if you want in on this, you have until Saturday, and that's it. We're done. I'm shutting it off. Not like the price goes up. No, I'm shutting it off. This is a big thing. I don't want this available at this low price. Cool, cool. All right. I'll leave those up for that. Well, let's do a ticker really quick, and I'll get back to Trump stuff. Hang on. There's more stuff we got to cover. Hang on. Business and dating content. SMIC Vault. www.caleb.top/SMIC. Deadline is Saturday. Save. Cool. All right. All right, let's get back to making you guys angry with facts and logic and data. Because again, this is stuff Trump said. This comes right out of Trump's mouth. I'm just quoting Trump. Okay, hang on. All right, moving on. Stop. Let's see. Hide. Hang on 1 second. Okay, back to Trump's big list of horrible things he's going to do to accelerate the collapse of your already collapsing United States. Let's see. Stricter. Okay. Launch a major infrastructure initiative focusing on rebuilding roads, bridges, and airports funded by tariffs. No. On imports. Last part, no. Investing in infrastructure, yes. But you have to somehow get that money from somewhere else by slashing. And the only way you're going to do that as America in 2024, the only way you're going to do that is by cutting expenses. You can't print more money. They are going to print more money. You shouldn't print more money. That's going to cause more inflation. You can't raise taxes. That's going to hurt the economy. So your only option is to cut expenses. You can't raise tariffs. That's going to hurt the economy. So the only way you can afford your roads, bridges, and airports, which you definitely need, you Americans, your airports are shit. God, your airports are, some of them are good. There's a few airports that are, most of them are shit. Your roads are shit. Your bridges are falling off. I mean, they did a whole thing where American infrastructure compared to other countries gets a D-. A D-. I live in Dubai. We have perfect infrastructure there. It's perfect, literally perfect. It's perfect. Amazing. Talk about it. Okay. Prioritize the nationwide expansion of 5G networks, partnering with private companies to ensure rural and underserved areas are connected. Aren't a lot of you Trump supporters also conspiracy theorists about the 5G and it's going to destroy your brain or melt your brain or something? Prioritize means like encourage and call for. So I'm just going to skip that. He can encourage and call for whatever you want. Promote the development. Again, promote. I don't care. It says promote the development of high-speed rail and key corridors. Not going to happen. I mean, it's not going to happen in America. Sorry. But without significant federal funding, instead encouraging private investment. You can encourage everyone. It's fine. Use public-private partnerships. No, that's fascism. That's Mussolini. Public-private partnerships. Use public-private Mussolini fascist partnerships to fund large-scale infrastructure projects, reducing the reliance on federal funds. No. You want Amazon owning your bridge and charging you a toll that goes to Jeff Bezos? Is that what you want? Now, if you're an anarcho-capitalist society, fine. But that's not America, right? So no. Public-private partnerships is Mussolini fascism. No. The federal government does it, or the private sector does it, and the federal government does very little. Tiny. I'm a minarchist libertarian. That's the least bad way to run a country if you want freedom and prosperity. If you don't want freedom and prosperity, a lot of Americans don't. If you're right where you want an authoritarian, right-wing Christian theocracy, or if you're a woke left-winger, you want a super oppressive socialist quasi-communist, fine. Quasi-communist, do that. Great. But if you want freedom and prosperity, none of this is going to work. Enforce antitrust actions against major tech companies like Google, Facebook, and Amazon to break up monopolies and encourage competition. So this is complicated. This is something this is binary. You do it or you don't do anything. So are there times the federal government needs to step in and break up monopolies? Yes. I was alive, and many of you were, you older people were alive, during the AT&T breakup. And that was a very good thing. The price of long distance and phone calls plummeted like a stone, and the economy boomed when the federal government stepped in and broke up AT&T. When was that? Back in the early 1990s? Great thing. Is it possible that, I wouldn't say, let's see, Google, Facebook, and Amazon, I'd say YouTube. Break up YouTube. Is it possible that some of these big tech giants should be broken up? Yes. Yes, it is possible that needs to happen. However, when they say enforce antitrust actions, that's not breaking them up. That's suing them. That's what the government did under Bill Clinton with Bill Gates and Microsoft back in the 90s. Again, you older people remember. They sued Microsoft and they hauled Bill Gates in and they yelled at him and, why are you doing this? And you shouldn't do that. And Bill Gates said, fuck you, I'm a billionaire, blah, blah, blah. And went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And taxpayers lost billions of dollars and nothing happened. So harassing these companies, which is what enforce antitrust actions means, no. Leave the companies alone or break them up. Don't haul them into court and haul them in front of Congress and sue them and pay taxpayer dollars, spend my taxpayer dollars to spend billions of dollars on attorneys, and then nothing happens. Because Jeff Bezos just bribes a few people or threatens a few people and everything gets, no. Break them up or leave them alone. And the problem is enforce antitrust actions means harass them. You don't want to do that. That hurts everybody. Introduce a national data privacy law that limits the ability of tech companies to collect and sell user data without explicit consent. I like that, but again, I'm sorry, the federal government's role is not to improve privacy. I don't think. Now, maybe you can interpret some aspects of the Constitution to do that, maybe. That's a gray area. So that's why I'm not hardcore on that. I like that idea. Now, here's the other problem. This is a global cultural problem. I've talked this in my blogs. Privacy is going away. Babies born now or babies born in about 10 years, when they get to high school and college and they're in their 20s and 30s, won't even know what privacy is. They'll be like, wait a minute, so you could do things and no one would know? How'd that work? They won't even understand what privacy is. We are rapidly coming into an era in the next few decades in our lifetimes with social media, technology, AI, and social norms all changing. You have OnlyFans now. You are rapidly coming into an area where there will be no privacy. So by fighting and defending privacy, which I agree with, I'm private on certain things, right? I don't talk about how much money I make. I don't talk about my net worth. I don't talk about where I'm invested, okay? I don't talk about the number of women I've had sex with, the exact number. There are certain things I don't talk about, and I'm a very open guy. My life is a pretty open book, but there are certain things I don't talk about because I don't want to get sued or deal with the government, like Tom Torero. I don't want those problems. So yeah, I agree, but I'm also realizing we're running into an era soon where regardless of what laws you pass, there will be no privacy. I've talked about how monogamy won't work soon because you won't be able to do it. People won't be able to get away with cheating. They can barely do it now. That's just one little example. I've talked about that in my blog. Let's see. Next one. Where is this here? Encourage the development of, okay, again, encourage, call for, don't care. It says encourage development of AI automation technologies, provide restraining programs weren't displaced by these. Yeah, he can encourage everyone. So don't care. Increase federal investment. Oh, I'm not going to like this. In research and development. No. Particularly in emerging technologies. No. Solyndra. Go Google that. Like quantum computing, biotechnology, and space exploration. Is that the role of the federal government? To invest in quantum computing, which I think is fucking awesome. Yes, please do that. Not taxpayer dollars. Do you want your tax dollars going to corporate CEOs? Is that where you want your tax dollars going? Or do you want them to go to roads and police? Your tax dollars should go to things like roads, courts and cops, a military, 2 or 3 other things like a post office, maybe, and that's it. It shouldn't be going to companies trying to develop shit. Because what happens is, go Google Cylinder, but there's many other scenarios. The government invests in these companies, and these companies become boondoggles, and they buy $4,000, $10,000 couches and first-class tickets for all their, because the government's paying for it. Say, hey, all right, party time. It's a nightmare. No, Trump. No, Trump is a fascist. You said he was a fiscal socialist. He's that too. He is a big government statist in a government where your government's already bankrupt. Push for a national ban on abortion after 15 weeks, with exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I already talked about this. By the way, that is my opinion on abortion. I've talked about this in my blogs. My personal opinion is abortion should be legal in the first trimester, illegal in the second, third trimester. That's my opinion. Because when a woman gets pregnant after a few weeks, that's not a baby. It's a microscopic clump of cells. That's not a baby. You're killing a baby. No, you're not. You're scraping a microscopic clump of cells, and the odds are decent. They'll die anyway. So no. But once it's a baby, then I agree with the right wingers. That's murder. You can't do that. Now, that's my personal opinion. This is not about Caleb's opinion on abortion. However, the United States federal government has no right to tell the states what to do regarding murder. Even if you're a conservative, you believe all abortion is murder. Murder is not within the purview of the federal government. That is in the purview of your state government and your local city government. That. So no, even though I agree with that. National abortion ban after 15 weeks. I agree with that. I agree with that. That there are a lot of things that I agree with that I think would be cool if the government did it, but I know the government fucks things up and it's not the role of the federal government, so I say no. See, I'm objective. Instead of saying, like a left-winger, I don't like guns, so the federal government should make all guns illegal. I don't do that. I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs my entire life, right? I've talked about this many times. I'm very anti-drug in my personal life, but I would never say the federal government make marijuana illegal because I, Caleb, don't like drugs. No. My personal desires have nothing to do with the federal government because I believe in freedom. You should do whatever you want, as long as you don't directly violate person or property. I've talked about this. Strengthen protections for religious institutions. Now, here we go again. Strengthen protections for religious institutions and individuals, ensuring they can operate according to their beliefs without government interference. By the way, Trump doesn't give a fuck about this. Trump doesn't give a fuck about religion. He's probably an atheist. He's lying to all the Christians. So he is lying here. He doesn't give a shit. Strengthen protections for religious institutions. That is not the role of the federal government. Leave people alone. Let people do it on their own. Let people vote for their own local governments. No. Oppose any new gun control legislation and promote national reciprocity for concealed carry permits. What does that mean? Promote national reciprocity? I don't know what that means. I am a minarchist libertarian. I am against gun laws more than you are if you're a Trump supporter. I am more pro-gun than you are. I think Americans should be able to own anything they want, including machine guns, 50 caliber mounted guns, rocket launchers. If you want to own those things, fine. And it's on your property, and you don't hurt anybody, great. Now, if you hurt someone, you're in trouble. So I'm for zero gun laws. Zero. None. You own whatever you want. And if anyone gets hurt, we throw the book at you. You're on your ass. You're in trouble. But you want to own a tank, as long as you keep it in your backyard, you can't drive it on public roads. You keep it in your backyard and wear a hat and go, yay, good. Here you want. It's fine. So oppose any new gun control legislation. That would mean federal legislation. There should be no federal gun laws. So I agree with this, but there should be no federal gun laws. Gun laws are up to the states. And if you have a left-wing state, they say no guns for everybody because guns are bad. And then they have all this crime. You have a right-wing or libertarian state that says you can have all the guns you want. And you have less crime. Great. You move to whatever state you want. All right, 2 more. And then I'll answer your questions. Defend free speech on college campuses. Not the role of the federal government. Okay, let me finish it though. Defend free speech on college campuses, which I agree with, by withholding federal funds from institutions that do not protect speech rights. Okay, that's good. Please withhold federal funds. No federal funds should go to any college. Where does it say in the Constitution The federal government will fund schools all over the United States. Is that what it says? No wonder it's $34 trillion of debt. There should be no federal funds for any school or any college. Local colleges, okay? Private colleges, yes. But if you want to limit more federal funds, great. And this is, by the way, another reason you should not go to college. No one should go to college in the modern era unless you want to be a doctor. And I mean that literally. Caleb, I want to be an engineer. You can learn engineering online for free or damn near without going to college. No one in the modern era. I'm not talking about 1964. I'm talking about today in the 2020s. No one should be going to college. You're a moron if you go to college. Unless you want to be a doctor. Then you got to. That's it. And I used to say, if you want to be an attorney or a doctor, now it's not, there's no point being an attorney. It's not just doctor. Something like that. All right, last one. Look at your questions. Okay, this is a long one. Okay. Ban transgender individuals from competing in women's sports? What? Donald Trump wants the federal government to get involved in sports? It says it right here. Ban transgender individuals from competing in women's sports. Donald Trump wants big government to get involved in sports. Now, I don't care what side you are on the issue of transgenderism. Not relevant. You want the federal government to come in and start managing sports? Do you see how insane some conservatives, right-wingers get and Trump supporters get? This is, again, where you guys get crazy insane. This is left-wing stuff. This is as insane as the left-wingers. We need big government to come in and make sure that transgender people don't get hired for this football team in the NFL. Are you insane? Trump's insane. And if you support Trump, you're insane. Yes, Kamala Harris is awful. Doesn't change my point. Just because one side is bad doesn't mean the other side is good. They can both be bad. I know that's hard to understand when you're an American. American societal programming, you have a lot of social conditioning saying it's either good or bad. One side good, one side bad. Both sides often are bad. Good God. Okay. And prohibit federal funding for gender transition procedures, particularly for minors. Is there federal funding for people to get a sex change now? I don't think that's a thing, is it? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Is there federal funding right now that is really happening? Not, it could happen, Caleb. I mean, it really is happening where federal funds are going to change 16-year-old girls into boys from federal funds. I don't think that's a thing. I think that's just Trump jerking off his audience again. Trump wants to get involved in the federal government, get involved in sports. Okay, so there you go. So you see now how insane this all is? I listed what? I went through a lot of things here. And maybe 3 were good, 4 were good, and the rest were awful and will make your country worse. All right, let me get to your questions. Let's see. Kamala will crush Trump. I've said many times, Kamala could win. She's ahead in the polls now, but polls don't mean anything. We learned that from the Hillary Trump election. You can't trust polls. But yes, Kamala could win. And here's why I've said why. Kamala has none of the negatives of Hillary. And Trump barely beat Hillary. Trump beat Hillary by a fraction of 1% in like 4 or 5 states. Trump barely beat Hillary. Kamala has none of the negatives of Hillary. And I went through them. Kamala is pretty. She's not my type, but she's attractive. Hillary was not. Hillary was very shrill and talk like this and you wanted to die when you listen to Hillary's voice. Kamala doesn't have that problem. She says stupid shit, but she's not shrill. Kamala is politically correct. She's not a white woman. She's black and all that. That is a plus in a left-wing collapsing economy. That's a plus for her. Kamala has never committed a crime. Hillary's committed all sorts of crimes. So all the negatives that Hillary brought to the table, Kamala is the Hillary Clinton without any of the negatives. So Kamala could win. A lot of Trump supporters saying, oh, Trump's going to kick her ass. And he might, but he might not. How likely is it the United States will get rid of the foreign earned income exclusion in the next 10 to 20 years? Not likely, but possible. Is Uruguay a rising, maintaining, or stagnating nation? Rising slowly. Not as fast as Paraguay, but it's rising slowly. Just play your theme song on your phone at the start of the video. No, I don't want to hold up my phone to the speaker. No, it's stupid. When are you going to make the video where you give all the stats and links to why the West is collapsing? It's on the list. I'll get to it. I will do it. Trump will slow the collapse down. Vote for Trump. It'll give us more time to escape Western collapse. False. Incorrect. That's what people said the first time. And Trump expanded the federal debt. He didn't spend more money than Obama, but he expanded the federal debt faster than any American president or any other president in human history before the pandemic. Go read my blog post on when he was doing it. He increased the deficit, not the debt, the deficit by $1 trillion in like 6 months. He accelerated the collapse, and he will accelerate it again. You are wrong. I wholeheartedly believe that the Fed is buying treasuries at a markup. I believe a select few elites are just moving treasuries from the primary market to the secondary market, immediately offloading the Fed, knowing the Fed has to buy them, effectively creating an endless stream of passive income for the elites. Maybe they're not doing it right now because of QT, but will resume soon once Q begins again. I don't think that's likely because I think people would know about it by now if they were doing that. But shit like that is likely, but that exact thing is not likely. But it's possible, sure. Do you think Trump will have another assassination attempt? Yes, guaranteed. Not guaranteed. Nothing in life's guaranteed. Odds are good, more than 40%. There will be another assassination attempt on Trump. You guys underestimate how much people hate Trump, how much the left hates Trump. And they view it as their obligation, their moral obligation for him to kill him. So yeah. Caleb, you are not old. You look much younger than your actual age. You look great. Thank you very much. That's the entire point of Alpha Male 2.0. You can watch me on the topic where I talk about how to do that. Yes. To play a theme song, you'll need a mixer with a USB interface built in. This sounds complicated. With either an analog stereo input, okay, I know what that is, or use the USB in out to play music from your computer. I can play music from my computer right now, but you will not hear it over the audio of StreamYard. This is a system called StreamYard that I'm operating under right now. So StreamYard, I have to use audio from the internal sound of the computer, not from this microphone. How do you do that? I don't know. Woke socialists just want to help people. No, they also want to enslave people. They want to throw people in jail if you say there are only two genders are man and women. That's what woke socialists want. So they want to help people and they also want to enslave people. I have a feeling Trump isn't really pro-life. He says this to gain Christian votes. Trump doesn't give a shit about abortion. He doesn't give a shit about, he's not pro-life. He's pro-abortion. You know how many abortions Trump has had done? Not himself, his women. Trump is absolutely pro-abortion. He's lying to the evangelicals, and the evangelicals fell for it. A lot of you fell for it. What do you think of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel taking over the Trump campaign through J.D. Vance? I don't like it. It's more Peter Thiel. I don't like it. And I used to like Peter Thiel when he was a real libertarian. Now he's not. I don't like elites getting involved in elections, but they are, and that's the nature of America. That's why I don't live there. So this is your problem, not mine. A few weeks ago, you predicted Trump beating Harris. I still predict that. Trump will likely beat Harris, yes. You think it's more of a 50-50 chance for either candidate? No, I don't think it's 50-50. I think I don't know what the percentage odds are. Random guess, 70 Trump, 30 Kamala. Trump is still more likely to win, but Kamala has a decent shot. This is kind of what I said when Hillary and Trump were running. You can read my blogs when I said it in 2017. Everyone in the United States saying, Hillary's going to slaughter Trump. This is so stupid. Hillary's going to win. Hillary's going to win. And I said, no, guys. Hillary will probably win. Statistically speaking, the odds are she'll win, but Trump could win. And I said Trump's odds were at least 40%. Now, that means Hillary is favored, but Trump could still win, and he won. So I'm saying the inverse of that now to you Trump idiots. Trump will probably win. But Kamala's chances aren't zero. They're not like 10%. They're at least 25, 30, 35%, at least. Those are decent odds. You ever played Dungeons and Dragons? Because I used to. You roll those dice. You have a 1/3 chance of making this jump over the pit. Oh, I'll take it. Oh, yeah. Trump said he may pay off the national debt with Bitcoin. He may not have been kidding. He was kidding. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. Speaking of income taxes, which one of your flags is next best after Dubai? Right here in Paraguay. The government has huge control over electricity in South Africa, but it's a total fucking mess. Okay. What are the best cities to live in Mexico as a non-monogamous alpha male, 2.0 single man, mid-30? There are many. My favorite is Guadalajara, but you really should ask my son. There's a lot of cool cities if you're a young guy, single dude. Trump actually hurt illegal immigration and pulled support for processing visas and renewing outside of the U.S. It's easy to say you're cracking down by hurting the illegal process. Doesn't stop illegal. Preventing visas is okay. What I said is not okay is demanding e-verify. That's cracking down. You don't crack down on individual business owners. Fuck you. No. But if you want to make visas more difficult to get by people visiting the United States, okay, that's fine. That's not cracking down. Alex Jones, oh, great. Alex Jones predicted the monkeypox will be the next pandemic. I guess it's time to escape the West, add lockdown. You should escape the West right now. I don't know why you guys are still living in the United States. I don't know why you're still there. There's only two exceptions. If you're super, super old and infirm and you can't move, fine, stay there. If you have small little kids and you're not with baby mama anymore and you want to leave your kids, fine, stay there. 99% of you don't have either of those problems. I don't know why you're in the United States. I don't know why you're still in the UK. I don't know why you're in Canada. Why are you still there? 5 years ago, I was saying, get the fuck out. Now I'm saying, why are you still there? Looks like you agree with around 50% of Trump's policies. You said that early on. Now you know I agree with maybe, what, 10% of them? How long do we have until Hong Kong starts to become fishy due to China no longer of a long time? 20 years? Quite a long time. That's going to be a long, long time. Are Iran and Israel going to get it on or what? In a limited fashion, yes. You guys talking about HSAs. Get rid of Obamacare, get rid of Medicare. We need to move a more holistic approach. You need to get rid of Social Security, Obamacare, and Medicare. All those things. Dump them, including Social Security. Anyone under the age of, like over the age of 60, you get them, buy them an annuity. And if you're under 60, you don't get anything. The Social Security, I'm talking about Social Security now. And that would include me. I wouldn't get anything. Will we see more of the recent violence in the UK? Yes, you will see more violence in the UK, Germany, Canada, United States. At a minimum, those 4 countries. And I said, if you live in the West, civil unrest is something you're just going to have to get used to. If you insist on staying in the collapsing West and living in or near a city, you're just going to have to get used to this stuff. Riots, civil unrest. Leave the country, or at a bare minimum, go way out in the middle of nowhere. The rural area, three hours away from a city. Most of you don't want to do that. So move to a cool city like Dubai. We're here in Asuncion, and you're fine. We don't have that problem in Paraguay. We don't have that problem in Dubai, where I live. My 2 countries don't have these problems. You guys have these problems. Could it be that the U.S. is an even bigger mess than the U.K. despite the current riots? Fiscally, so the USA will last longer than the UK, but the crash will be harder. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. So the UK is in more urgent danger than the United States. Yes, that's true. The United States has a lot of money and a lot of power still, but the UK doesn't. But when the United States goes down, whoo-hoo, whoo. Okay, what are you talking about? Climate change, government subsidies for industries seems to work for China. They took over the EV space. Yes, if you Americans say, we don't want to be a free country anymore, we want to be an authoritarian fascist quasi-dictatorship like China, great, then do that. But be honest about it then. You can't say, we're Americans, we're free. Now let's give a bunch of money to corporations from the federal government. What? Be honest about what you're doing. If you guys, I've said this about Americans or any country, any Western country, if you want to take a plebiscite, which means you all vote, should we convert from being a free ostensibly quasi-capitalist free market economy and say, fuck it, let's be in a bunch of authoritarians like China, and you all agree to do that, then go do that. But then don't lie to me and say, we're free, we're America, we're land of the free and home of the brave. America, you can't say that anymore. Dubai is honest. Dubai is a free economy with some authoritarian shit over in the corner. And they're honest about it. Hey, we're authoritarian over here. Over here, we're free. Over here, we're authoritarian. You don't like it, fuck you, don't move here. They're honest. America's not honest. America says, we're the freest country in the world, boo. And we spend billions of dollars giving it to schools and corporations and research and development and an army we don't need. And this is yeah. Federal judges use the Interstate Commerce Clause to try to rule the whole nation. That is absolutely correct. I hate it. Not everybody is able to up and move to another state. I didn't say you move tomorrow morning. I say you move. Now, it might take you 6 months to move. It might take you a year, but you can move. I don't care how poor you are. I have dated women with no money who moved across the United States in a ratty, shitty little car with their dog and all their shit in the back. It can be done. You can save up $1,000 for gas and you can do it. I didn't say you move tomorrow, just like when I talk about moving out of the United States. Maybe you can't move this Saturday. Maybe you can't move to another country. But can you in 6 months if you plan it out? Can you in a year? Can you in 2 years? Yes, you can. You can move, given time. That's an excuse. I can see a future where expat vets' pensions get so bad they have to crawl back to the USA. Yes, I can see that future too. You shouldn't rely on the government for anything, including if you're a veteran. Build up your own income, build up your own investments, and move somewhere that's very cheap, like here in Paraguay, where it's 1/8 the price of the United States. I'm looking at getting a nice apartment here in Paraguay. I'm going to spend $5,000 USD a year. I'm just going to write him a check for $5,000. It's mine for a year. Nice apartment in a nice part of town. You can do that too, or you stay in the collapsed United States and vote for Trump and make everything worse. Some of you is asking about women. I do not answer women questions on these live streams. Go to the Alpha Male 2.0 on Wednesday. What separates the UAE golden visa from just getting UAE residency the traditional way? Is the UAE golden visa really that much more beneficial? No. The only difference is instead of having to renew it every 3 or 4 years, you renew it every 10. So the golden visa is a bunch of bullshit. It's just how soon do you want to renew it? If it was permanent, then it'd be, but they don't do that. So no, the UAE golden visa is a bunch of bullshit. I have the same rights as a resident as you if you have a golden visa. It's the same exact thing. The only difference is I have to renew my visa every, 3 years? You renew yours every 10. 10 once, then you got to do it again. So it's stupid. No. What are your thoughts on Dave Smith as well as a lot of libertarian public figures in general? Dave Smith, unfortunately, is a left-leaning libertarian, which was very similar to Gary Johnson. But a left-leaning libertarian is better than Trump or Kamala. So if you were smart, you would vote for a third party even if they don't win. The objective is not to get them to win. The objective is to show the government and the people that they get 15, 20% of the vote. I did an entire video on this at the YouTube channel, the Unchained CEO YouTube channel, when I talked about Trump. The objective is not to get them to the win. Ross Perot lost the election in the 90s, and they balanced the budget for the first time in 50 years because of Ross Perot losing because he got 19% of the vote. Now, Libertarian Party is never going to win anything. People hate libertarians, including Trump supporters, because they hate libertarians. Americans hate freedom. Modern day Americans, they hate freedom. They hate libertarianism. That's why libertarians always get 1 or 2% of the vote. Unfortunate, sad. Google sure looks like AT&T. Yeah. One of you is saying BS. That's not an argument. Make an argument. Means you can carry in other states if you have a CC. Concealed carry in one state. Okay, that's cool. Well, no, that's not cool. That's not cool. Then I disagree with that law. States should be allowed to decide their own gun control laws. The federal government can't put a gun to the state's head and say, you will let people own guns and walk around concealed carry if you don't want to, California. No. California, if they want to be a bunch of left-wing psychos, let them be a bunch of left-wing psychos. It's fine. And move somewhere else that is like that. LOL, pretty hard to throw the book at someone that has a tank in their backyard. Look what happened in Waco. They all got killed at Waco. They all died. We destroyed them. Go get a tank and go up against the U.S. government and see who wins. Do you think you'll win? Go buy a tank, load up that cannon, and go up against the U.S. government. Go ahead and see who wins. You will be dead. Yeah, you'll cause some damage, and then you'll die. So you want to die? Go ahead. The government will destroy you no matter what you have. Who made this? I mean, Bill Maher, I think, made this argument. He's an anti-gun guy because he's a left-winger. He was saying, look, it's okay to own a gun. You can't own 40 guns. That's bullshit. Now, I disagree with that. But his argument was, well, we need to own 40 guns to defend ourselves against the government. His point, which was accurate, was you could have 1,000 guns in your house. If the government comes after you with the full force, you're going to die. It doesn't matter how many guns you have. It doesn't matter if you have a tank. Stupid. I agree that soon privacy will be a thing of the past, but considering that technology is always two-way, will the government be able to spy on the government? Will the public be able to spy on the government elites as well? Yes. Yes. It will be a leveling playing field. I talk about this in Dating over my other channel. Imagine a universe, a future, this is going to happen, where you go on a first date with a girl and you know everything about her, including when she last masturbated. Everything, literally everything. But she knows everything about you. She knows the kind of porn you jerk off to. She knows when you had sex with someone else last time. She knows exactly how much money you make, but you know everything about her. It's a level playing field now. No one can lie. Now, that's going to be very creepy and weird and disturbing for a lot of us, including me, but you got to get used to it. Sorry. So are they right when they call Trump a fascist? Partially, yes. Trump obviously has some fascist views. Obviously, I just showed them to you. So partially. When they call him a fascist, they think he's like Hitler. No, of course not. But partially, yes. In your opinion on getting in on the music industry in a non-American market like Thailand or Colombia, organizing music festivals, turning hot women into pop stars, etc. That doesn't sound location independent to me, so I would be against that. If you can do that in a location independent fashion where you don't have to be in Colombia, sure. Why do you think Kamala will be a poor choice for president? Kamala was rated as the #1 most left-wing senator in Congress in 2019. She is an extreme left-winger in terms of what she wants in her heart. Now, that doesn't mean she'll implement communism. She can't. She is an extreme left-winger. She is a socialist. She is borderline communist, borderline, not literally. And that is not what America wants right now, or not what it wants. It does want that. It is not what America needs. It doesn't need someone who's going to blow up welfare spending and give more money to healthcare and hospitals, and you will accelerate the collapse, the economic collapse, if you vote for a left-winger for president. Very poor choice. By the way, go read my blogs. When the Democrat primaries were going on, and you had like 15 people running for president, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, blah, 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 okay? I said, who was the worst pick out of this entire group of 15 people? The worst one was Joe Biden. Who did I say was the second worst one? This is many years ago. Kamala Harris. So I'm consistent about this. Chance of a nuclear war actually happening, extremely low. World War III, extremely low. The elites would lose too much money. The elites don't like to lose money. So a world war is extremely unlikely. You could see strategic nukes used on a battlefield. That is possible. Putin could pull that. That's where you launch a small nuke onto an army. But nuking a city, extremely unlikely. It would have happened many times before now, including in the 1960s with the Cuban Missile Crisis. So if you say that gun ownership should be totally open, of course there would be crazies that go on killing sprees. In a violent culture like the United States, yes, unfortunately, there would be some of that, yes. So would you say, yes, allow anything, you just don't live in that country? I would say this. You don't punish criminals until before they commit a crime. Okay? Now, if America was wide open gun, you wouldn't have what you're talking about because you already have double the number of guns that there are people in the United States. There's 300 million people in the United States. There's 600 million guns. So why don't you have crazies doing this now? Now you do in schools. But Canada for years had lots of guns. They didn't have all these problems. So yes, if you have guns, If guns are open, you're going to have some people die with guns. You'll have other people pull out and kill them. That's why you're insane to like rob a bank in Texas. Everyone has guns. So it won't be as bad as you think. StreamYard should have a preferences menu where you can choose the audio source you want to use. Yes, but it's all external sources. I mean, I'll do it right now. Audio. Internal is not one of the choices. It's this microphone or that microphone. So no, I already looked at that. When do the blog articles resume? This week. I've been way behind because I was sick. This week. Well, I'll write them this week, so next week. And I apologize. Thoughts about parents trying to buy land into your name, implicitly still theirs, but legally easier to have in your name? Sure. I have no opinion on that. Agreed on these points, Caleb. To clarify, I meant that despite what Trump said, he actually hurt immigration system instead of helping. Oh, I see what you said. Got it. Obviously, he talks a big game, but doesn't follow through on most. Right, and that's the challenge with Trump supporters. Trump supporters should know by now he's a liar and doesn't mean anything he says. All the promises he made the first time he didn't do. Did he build the wall? Did he make America great again pre-pandemic? Did he bring the manufacturing jobs back? Did he end the wars? Did he do anything? No. Will Hong Kong collapse before the U.S. does? 20 years on. I didn't say Hong Kong will collapse. I said Hong Kong will start being worse because of China. Hong Kong will not collapse. The America will collapse. Hong Kong won't collapse. It'll just get slightly worse over time as China does all its bullshit. It'll be less free. Hong Kong will not collapse. America will collapse. I hate to say it, but Peter Schiff and Doug Casey have preached collapse since 2010, and it still hasn't happened. I've talked about this many times. That's the problem. They give specific dates. I don't. They call these guys boom and doomers selling gold. That's correct. Peter Schiff and Doug Casey, I've said this many times, I'll say it again, and these are both people I really like. Peter, I've talked to him several times. I really like Doug Casey. The problem with those two guys is they've been saying, oh, it's about to collapse next year. Oh, it's going to collapse in 6 months. Oh, it's going to, and it never does, and they end up looking stupid. What have I said? What's the difference between me and them? When have I said America's collapsing? I don't know. There's no way to know. I said it could collapse in 30 years. It could collapse in 20 years. It could collapse in 6 or 7 years. It could collapse in 2 years. I don't know. No one knows, including Peter Schiff and Doug Casey. Oh, it's going to collapse in October. Oh, no, that's stupid. No, you don't know it's going to collapse. I know it's going to collapse. And I know it's going to collapse in our lifetimes. 25 years is in your lifetime. So it doesn't matter when the West collapses. You need to take care of this now, so when it does in your lifetime, you'll be okay. It doesn't matter. I did a whole podcast on this. When is it? It doesn't matter when. If it collapses in 3 years or 25 years, you should be preparing now. And most of you listen to the sound of my voice don't even have location-dependent income. You're still at your stupid 9-to-5 job. You're going to be slaughtered. Some of you are already getting slaughtered. It's going to get worse. You're going to get slaughtered. Join the 90-Day Business Builder program. Set up your own location-dependent business. At least set up an international backup plan in some other country. Do at least that. Then you're okay. Most of you haven't taken any action on this. You're just going to vote for Trump again. Like that worked so great the first time, you idiots. Yes, Kamala Harris sucks. They both suck. You said Hong Kong will collapse in 20. I did not say that. No, I did not say that. I just had a debate with a friend of mine who is a true blue leftist intellectual from Belgium. Well, they're Europeans. That's what exists here, you know. Who thinks that the failed Trump assassination was staged. What's your take on that? It was not staged. We know that for a fact now. It was not staged. I mentioned this earlier. There are some oddballs who think everything is staged. Many of you guys, not many, a percentage of you in my audience said that the Will Smith slap was staged. No, it wasn't. And we know that for a fact, and it's not even a matter of debate. Thank goodness that I'm leaving soon, not my worry anymore. I know people who moved to the EU thinking they escaped collapse. Yeah, I know, a big mistake. You mean people who moved from the United States to the EU? Yeah, I know. I know one or two of those too. What are you doing? What are you guys doing? Or Canadians who moved to Europe, like, what the you got out of one frying pan into another frying pan. Well, why'd you do that? Could speaking in code be a way to compensate for lack of privacy? You'll be able to decrypt everything. People will try to encrypt shit and it won't work. You'll be able to decrypt it. It won't work. Watch. Dude, you're insane about privacy. Some former playmates can get all the nudes scraped from the internet. Why do you think people should put up with the end of privacy? NSA spying on all of us for sure. You just proved my point. NSA is spying on all of us. So do you have privacy? Former playmates can get all their nudes scraped from the internet. That's not true. That's not true. They can get most of them scraped, not everything. Not true. Sorry, not true. And even if that is true, I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about in 20 years from now. Should I say you should put up with it? No. But what are you going to do to stop it? That's like saying we're going to stop AI. What are you going to do to stop AI? You. What are you going to do to stop AI? Same thing with privacy. What are you going to do to stop this no privacy that's coming? What are you going to do? Who are you going to vote for? You're not going to do shit. You know, it's like saying, what are you going to do to prevent World War III? You personally, you can't. You can get mad about it. And if you're a right-wing conservative, you're going to be mad the rest of your life. I've talked about this. The problem with right-wingers, they're just going to stare at the world and be mad. If you want to be mad the rest of your life, be mad. Or you can achieve your objectives within the framework of what you're given, a collapsing, fallen world. That's what I did. I live an amazing life in a horrible, collapsing world. And they go, well, this is bullshit. America's collapsing. This is bullshit. The Biden's I didn't do that. I said, all right, this is bullshit. It's terrible. How do I make money? How do I live a great life? How do I be free? That's what you need to do. What's your view on crypto next year if Kamala or Trump get elected? If Kamala gets elected, crypto is going to have a spike. If Trump gets elected, it's going to be straight. Nothing's much going to happen because all the right wingers are going to think, oh, good, Trump's president. Now everything's fixed. If Kamala gets elected, me and Andrew Henderson, anyone in the Five Flag space, we're going to have a big spike in income because all these right wingers go, oh my God, now America is going to collapse. It was fine prior to now. America was great prior to now, but now that Kamala's, now I got to get out. Andrew and I have talked about this. Andrew and I both made a lot of money when Biden was elected, a lot. Andrew made more than I did. He made millions because all these stupid Americans said, oh my God, Trump, Biden's the president. Now America's going to collapse. No, America's going to collapse either way. So I will make a spike of income around December, January, February if Kamala gets elected. I guess I can make a little spike if Trump gets a little one. So I guess I'll spike either way, but I'll have a bigger spike if Kamala gets elected. It'll just be a spike. It won't change my life. Would you make a public 10-year smart contract bet on whether or not the U.S. will experience 6 quarters of negative economic growth in the next decade? I couldn't make that bet. It probably will happen. I believe that'll happen. But the government can finagle the numbers. The government can print money. There's all kinds of things the government can do to, instead of showing a negative 1%, a positive 0.5% by them just tweaking the numbers. That's the problem with these. So I couldn't make that bet, no, because the government could lie. The government already lies about inflation. The government really says inflation's at like 3.5% right now. Is that really? Have you seen gas prices, medical prices, food prices? 3%. So the government's already lying about these numbers. A USB mixer would show up as an external source. Oh. So they explain to me, I get a USB mixer on Amazon. I plug it into my laptop, and then how do I play the song through the USB mixer? How does that work? Tell me how I do that, and then I'll do it. How many quarterly recessions in a row is a collapse to you? Quarterly recessions in a row is not a collapse to me. None. The answer is none. There's no answer to that question. That's not what I define as collapse. Go look at my blogs or this YouTube channel about what will happen, what will the collapse look like. And I give you 5 different scenarios of exactly what the collapse look like. One would be currency crisis, inflation or deflation. One would be terrorism or war. One would be authoritarianism. One would be, I forgot, there's 5 of them. There's 5 possibilities. It's not several quarters in a row with negative growth. That happened before. That's happened before. It wasn't a collapse. That's not a collapse. Chances of China breaking up in 20 years. 20 years, very low. It's impossible to talk about the next 20 years because of the AI, a 10-year time horizon maximum, anyone can make sense of. I have said that many times, correct. That's correct. AI could be a game changer, but we don't know. We don't know if AI will change everything or not. It could, but it might not. So we don't know. So here's what I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say, okay, America's going to collapse sometime in the next 30 years. But 30 years could be 5 years. America collapsed before AI. So that's problem number one with your attitude. America could collapse before AI makes everything a paradise or destroys the earth. America could collapse in 5 years. That could happen. Don't think so, but it could. It could happen. It could. So problem number one with what you just said. Problem number two, if I say America's going to collapse between 1 year and 30 years, well, that's fine. I'm just going to assume AI is going to fix everything. I'm not going to worry about it. What if AI doesn't fix everything and you're fucked? You want to bet your life on AI? I don't. I'm not going to bet my whole life and my entire future and all my finances and my happiness on whether or not AI changes things. It might do that, but it might not. The collapse is happening now in slow motion. American collapse began in the early 2000s around 9/11 and George W. Bush. Correct. So it happened for a long time. You have mentioned in other videos which specific countries you are pursuing citizenship in, not residency, but citizenship. I cannot give you those specific lists because my attorneys have told me to not talk about that because that could cause problems with those citizenships. That's why Andrew Henderson, Nomad Capitalist, doesn't tell you what the passports he has. We're not allowed to say that publicly. Sorry. Join the SMIC vault at www.caleb.top/SMIC. And I can give you lots of information there because it's not public. By the way, you have to type www to get that. Collapse with 2% growth? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Thoughts on Hungary being Russian friendly and its implications? I have no opinion. Isn't the degree of freedom in Hong Kong going to be similar to what you get in Dubai and Singapore? Well, I don't know. We don't know that. I just know it'll be whatever it is now, it'll be less. That's all I know. I can't give you exact. I don't have a crystal ball. Will the state of Wisconsin survive what? After America collapses, or should people there get out of Dodge with other countries? Okay. So it depends on so what you're asking is, if I live out in the rural boonies in America, will I survive the collapse? Depends on what type of collapse. There's 5 different scenarios. If it's a currency collapse, no, probably not. I mean, maybe, but probably not. So it depends. If it's a terrorism or war thing, you'll probably be okay. So it depends. If it's authoritarianism, it depends. Depends. Secession, depends. That was the other one. Secession, depends. You don't know. That's why leaving America is the safest bet. Getting out of it instead of moving out to the rural area. And maybe you'll be okay, maybe you won't. I will be okay, guaranteed. I live in Dubai and Paraguay. When America collapses, I will be okay. I've said this many times. Will I have some problems? Yes. I will be inconvenienced. You will be fucked. You can choose to be fucked or inconvenienced. I choose to be inconvenienced when America collapses. I will have some problems. If America collapsed tomorrow morning, I'd have some problems, but I'd be okay. Would you be okay if you live in America? Nope. If you're okay with people owning rocket launchers and unlimited guns, wouldn't they just overthrow the government? No, government still be the American government has the biggest armies in the history of mankind. No, you would be crushed. If lots of people owned rocket launchers and they said, we're going to overthrow the government, they would be crushed. The government come along and just squash you like a thumb. Are you kidding? No. Look at the cartels in Mexico. Who's stopping them? Mexico, the government of Mexico is not the government of the United States. The government of the United States has the most powerful military force and police force in the history of mankind. Does Mexico have that? No. And they're corrupt. A lot of police in Mexico are corrupt on the cartel side. You're comparing 2 different things. By the way, guys, don't worry. America's never going to be libertarian. These hypotheticals are never going to happen. Well, Caleb, if you let everyone own every gun, that'll never happen in America. It's never going to happen. I wish it would. It'll never happen. So don't worry about it. Can you build a location-independent business while pursuing an athletic career? Sure. Can you do 90-day business builder as an athlete? The issue is not an athlete. The issue is how much free time per week do you have? You need at least 15 hours per week to put into your business. You've got at least 15 hours a week, 20 or more is better, then yes. Doesn't matter what you're doing in the other time. What skills do I need to acquire to become a strategy consultant? How to consult based on strategy and business skills. That's what we need. That's it. The taxes in Hong Kong are lower than Singapore, but higher in Dubai. Correct. Why does every significant thinker who studies AI and robotics thinks there will be a massive productivity gains and not collapse? What do you know that they don't? What might you know that they don't? You need to go watch the 2 videos, live streams I did on AI, where I answer those questions. I said that might happen. AI could turn the whole world into a paradise. That could happen. Number one. Number two, massive productivity gains is not enough to save the collapsing America. You're collapsing culturally and you're collapsing economically and fiscally. Sharp rise in productivity gains is not going to be enough to save America now. You could have saved America like 25, 30 years ago. Yes. Now, no. The problems are way too big for some productivity gains to fix it. I addressed that over in the other live streams. Go back on my YouTube channel or my podcast and listen to the 2 or 3. I did 2 or at least 2, I think 3 live streams on exactly that topic. I didn't say, and again, every significant thinker thinks there'll be massive productivity gains and not a collapse. They didn't say not a collapse. They don't say not a collapse. You're adding that. You're lying. They said massive productivity gains. I agree that is probably going to occur once there's a bloodbath of millions of people losing their jobs. What are you going to do about those before the productivity gains kick in? You're ignoring that part too. So a lot of these thinkers say there's going to be a bloodbath and then it'll be good. You got to survive the bloodbath. And then I didn't say there wouldn't be productivity gains. There probably will be. I said productivity gains are not enough to prevent collapse. None of these AI robotics people said there won't be a collapse. You added that in there. Okay, Captain M90s, you keep talking about Hong Kong. Ask a question. Got it. I know quite a bit about Hong Kong. Thank you. Are there going to be countries where you can maintain your privacy long term? Lower end, shittier countries like Paraguay. Yeah. Lower end, emerging market countries, sure. In a previous chat, you did a segment on the rise of Islam. Correct. And I was wondering, will America become an Islamic nation like what is happening in Europe? No, it will not. But Europe will. Europe, yes. Europe will be Islamic. Absolutely. Yes. America, you're going to have inroads, but no, it's not going to become Islamic. No. Worldwide, Islam is on the rise. Worldwide. Not in America. 1 second. Hang on, I got to check the time here. All right, I got to go in a few minutes. Excuse me. Trump gets in, he will have no re-election worries. Why? He's going to be president for life, so maybe he will be better or even worse. I don't understand. How can we profit from whoever wins the U.S. presidency? Start a business that does well when America does poorly. The reason I doubled my entire net worth portfolio in 2020 for my investments is because I invest in things that do well when America does badly. I've made a lot of money in my investments because I invest in things like Bitcoin, gold, silver, certain commodities that do well when America does badly. If you invest in the American stock market, that means you're betting on America doing great. Not a good idea. I invest in things that do well when America does badly. And that's what's happened over the past 15 years. And I've done very well. How can you be sure these backup countries won't actually collapse too? Paraguay is not going to collapse. Dubai is not going to collapse. What is a reasonable time frame for getting to a consistent 10K per month? You can do it in less than a year if you work hard. We can just use public GDP, but subtract public spending to make them. No, they will play with those numbers. No, and I don't disagree with you. That may or may not happen. What makes Billy more left wing and not woke? We talked about that. Will be the approximate population loss during the collapse of, I have no idea. You can play the song 2 ways. You could play it on your computer and then turn the fader on the USB channel or the mixer. Or you could buy a Y cable going from your iPod, for example, left, right. Oh, okay. Like a Shure. All right, cool. So the collapse is happening right now? Correct. The collapse has been happening slowly since around 2010. Then it's not even a prediction. No, I predict specific, 1 of 5 specific scenarios. Go read those articles that have not happened yet. That's what I call collapse. But America has been collapsing since 2001. John McAfee, which I know is not your real name, if you think America is going to do well, show me your facts and data with links that America is going to prosper over the next 30 years, no matter what, with or without AI. Show me that. And make an argument. Instead of saying, make an argument. You're not making arguments. Looks like people have good luck. Okay, thank you. Okay, I got to go here. I got to go in 1 minute. You got a lot of questions. Well, I'm not going to be able to get all your questions. I'm trying to scan down, look for questions. And the collapse will be starvation. Why are you convinced that America will never become an Islamic nation? Because it doesn't border any Islamic countries primarily, and it doesn't have mass influx of Muslims like Europe does. Third countries like Paraguay, UAE could collapse for various reasons. Look at what happened to Sri Lanka. Was Sri Lanka one of the countries I recommended? No. No African country do I recommend. Relatively prosperous, growing country, not tied to the West? No. Went wacky due to sudden immigration policy. Well, that's why I have backups to my backups. So I live in Dubai, but Paraguay is my backup. I live in Paraguay, Dubai is my backup. So if something horrible happens in Dubai, I go to Paraguay and I'm fine. So the ideal way to do what I'm doing, you leave the collapsing Western world. I'll end with this. You leave the collapsing Western world, you go to a new country, you get a backup to that country in case that country fucks up. Now you're covered no matter what happens. I am covered no matter what happens. Plus I have a backup in Mexico. I have backup in Armenia. I have legal permanent residency in 5 countries, dude. I'm covered no matter what. Are you? You're just, again, you're making excuses. Well, what if this and what if that? All right, stay in America and vote for Trump and see how well you do. All in with that. You guys think everything's fine, or you think, well, I don't want to leave. Great. Vote for Trump, and let's talk again in 3 or 4 years and see how happy you are with how America's doing. Trump is going to accelerate the collapse. Kamala will accelerate the collapse. You're fucked no matter what. Get an international backup plan at least, or look at moving. Or stay where you are and just say everything will be fine. Good luck.